Henry Boyce,
Hang on a
and
second.
I've been promoting Depot Days now for 11 years here in downtown Newport, Arkansas. And for all 11 of those years, Mr. Sonny Burgess here to my right has been my headline act. The festival began in its inception as a tribute to the rock and roll history of Jackson County. During the early to mid 50s, there were several nightclubs along Highway 67 in Jackson County, which hosted dozens of rock and roll acts, as well as many other kinds of music, and the most famous of which were the Silver Moon Club, Porky's Rooftop, Bob King's, north of here at Swifton, Arkansas, and several others. But the music was just really developing at that point in time, from country, rhythm and blues, and a brand of variety music called hillbilly. And Sonny, you grew up in those times, and how do you recall all those influences coming together?
Well, when Elvis brought them all together, really, Elvis Presley, when he came along, he put the rhythm and blues in with the country or hillbilly. They call it country now, but back then it's hillbilly music. Hank Williams, all those guys, and everything changed when Elvis came along with Scotty and Bill and DJ Fontana.
What would you say was what was it about Elvis Presley that set him apart, set him aside, and made him basically change the whole face of music?
Nobody knows that. If he could, you could market it and get rich. It was something about him. I don't know what it was, and you probably didn't think it at that time. But he was one of a kind, which over the years he's proved to be the only one of a kind that we've ever had. You know, he goes back over years and years and years, and he's still a big star. I was in Memphis this last week for the hotel there has everybody has Elvis Week, and I never seen so many people there and so many Elvis imitators. A lot of them I knew. They were little kids. This one guy, Jamie Aaron Kelly, when we had the Sun Rhythm section, we were up north. He's from Iowa, and his dad and this little boy would come out along with mom and see our shows. This little bitty kid, and his daddy was Elvis imitator. So now he's a big time Elvis imitator, the kid. The daddy don't do it anymore, but he even had a room devoted to nothing but Elvis. Everything in that room was Elvis.
Well, getting back to the early history now, how old were you when you started playing? Or I'll just say, what year was it when you started playing professionally in this area for money?
For money, we started at Bob King's in '53.
Okay. And now, were you basically playing country music when you began?
Basically country and a little rhythm and blues.
Okay. So you were already playing the music that kind of came together, or, as you said earlier, Elvis brought together in his act before that. So what Elvis really brought to America, which was later known as rock and roll, was really already in existence here, and you all were playing that music.
We were one of the few bands because I liked the old rhythm and blues. Big Joe Turner, Jimmy Reed, and all those guys, the black artists, that played this kind of music. And you get WDIA out of Memphis, which is still in existence, played all black music, and you get the Grand Ole Opry. That was your two major radio influences. TV, you know, nobody had a TV back then.
Right. So you could listen to the radio, and I don't know, how old were you when you got your first guitar?
Oh man, I was still in school. Your dad was doing magic acts at Anderson out there.
So you were maybe what, 14, 15 years old?
About 12 or 14, something like that.
Okay.
A Gene Autry guitar, $3.75 from Sears Roebuck.
Now, when Elvis came through, and I'm trying to get my dates right now, I believe he came through and played his first shows in Swifton and Newport, didn't he?
Played his first show at Porky's Rooftop, early part of '55.
Okay.
He did all his shows when he was the good Elvis, before it with RCA Victor. Then Porky brought him back, but he took him out of Silver Moon because it was bigger, to hold more people. And that's when he had Wanda Jackson and Bud Deckerman and Porky's band was backing them, and he had his own band. Then the next time he came back, came down here to Armory.
Okay.
And the next time he came back, he came to Bob King's. That was in December. And had Johnny Cash with him. He played Swifton High School.
Okay.
Was in their gym, and they did a show. And we opened for him down at Bob King. We didn't open for him there. Cash opened for Elvis. And when they got through, Cash came down first. We started at 9, played till 10, and Cash comes in. He does an hour. But this time Elvis is there from the high school. And he played. Cash told Bob Neal, I'm going home, so these folks don't want to hear me, which they didn't. They wanted to see Elvis.
Right. So, was that a total of 4 or 5 times that Elvis played in Jackson County?
About 4 times.
Okay.
But he played all these plays, like Bono, different play. I remember that. I went over to see him at Bono.
Now, after Elvis started coming through and playing shows, and that you say that was in the year '55, and I think when was it that he went with RCA? Was it
in January the following '56?
'56. Okay, so it was just 1 year that this was all happening, that everybody was getting exposed to Elvis on a local level. And then what was it? What was the next step that you all took, you and your band? Now, were you the Moonlighters then, or the Pacers?
Well, when we opened for Elvis now, we were the Moonlighters. Pacers had not been formed. We went to Memphis, me and John Ray and Kern went to Memphis and talked to Sam Phillips, and he said, well, you know, go home and get you some songs worked up, and come on back. So we go back and we picked up Jack Nance and Joe Lewis. And that made us 6 pieces then, 6 pieces. I already had John Ray Kern, Russ Smith, and myself. And we went back and he recorded us in late '55, then released our first release, Ready When We Won't Boogie, in '56, early '56.
So your first release on Sun was in late '55?
No, it was '56 when we done the release.
Late?
We recorded.
In '55?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you released We Want a Boogie,
and Red-Headed
Woman in what part of '56?
Early part, like June, May or June, somewhere along in there. I never will forget, in the Independent, the Sterling 5 and 10 hit down here on Front Street, had run a little ad, said, Red-Headed Woman, 75 cents.
And of course that was your biggest hit on the Sun label.
Yep.
And you went on to record 4 more singles?
Yeah, we did 4 more. Well, we actually did 5 singles. Riley came along right after we did. But anyway, if you did 6 singles, Sam would have to put out an album on you.
Okay.
So he never let us get to the 6 out. But this year, I just got one, Find My Baby For Me, one we did with Orbison back in '56.
Okay. And I was going to get to that in just a second. So you got to Memphis and got to Sun Studios and started recording with Sam Phillips in late '55. You had your first release in early '56.
Joe Lewis named us the Pacers. That's where that came from.
And that's when you became the Pacers.